Hey, I'm Mike Miller with In the Box, live on location at Brothers Pizza in McKinney, Texas.
What a beautiful place to be. Ed Naudine, In the Box. This will be episode 3. Episode 3. We've had a little bit of a hiatus as we traveled all over the country, but super excited what all the kids accomplished, and as we move forward, where our program's going. But in terms of In the Box, you'll see us a little more often. We had about 3 or 4 people that texted us, wonder where we went. We're back, baby.
We're back.
Greg Borzilleri. One of the great coaches in club softball. An icon of the sport. Now, I love Greg. I think he's a really good quality guy. When you play all summer long, you almost end up running into your old friends,
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
kind of the nature of it, I find. Because we only know each other. It's like during your fantasy football league, right? You got like 12-week window where these guys are your boys.
Yeah.
It's similar, I think, during club sports, where it's like, these are our people, right? We live it, we breathe it, we enjoy it. So, and it's by happenstance, we always run into each other, right?
Yeah. No, my favorite time of the year for sure. I get to, reconnect with everybody that we saw, the summer prior, and good stuff.
Yeah, and I think for us, right? I mean, if you're playing Athletics Mercado, and Greg's had great teams. Obviously, Dave's been a amazing coach at every level, but at 18U and on the way up, he's built quite a program, great organization. But I think what makes them successful is, they're true to the sport. They play the game.
Yeah.
They're all about pitching, defense, and they can swing it too.
Yeah, they hit a little bit. Yeah, and they're great at all age levels, across the board. They do a good job.
Yeah, and I think for we had, as Greg was coming up, we've had many a battle, and his kid now is on her way to University of Kentucky, right. And that's an amazing accomplishment. But the fact that he's still in the sport, still giving back, I'm excited to bring him on the show and talk about all the things that we like to talk about, right? And for us, we're really conversational, and I think people enjoy hearing from Greg, what makes them tick, what makes them successful, and, what is his opinion about what we're doing from a sport perspective.
Yeah. Yep. Should be great. Excited to have him on.
Yep. He's coming next. So Athletics Mercado, man, pretty big brand. Look at those 2 big brands on this guy, man.
Yeah. Hey, I had to make sure I represented. I would hear if I was wearing a curly T-shirt and a Quicksilver hat or something. I don't know.
We did the same thing. You see our In the Box. These are brand new, baby.
Oh, you'll have to send me one.
I will. We'll get that knocked out. We do that for all of our guests. We have like 7 shirts right now.
Yeah.
Okay, Greg, it's been it's always been a pleasure, and I think having you in the Box will be fun, just so you can talk about this sport and how you've influenced it and the passions that you have for it and where it's going, right? But it always starts for me. I know your daughter is at Kentucky. You just dropped her off. For me, when my kid got there, I always look back and said, how did it start, right? What got it going? And look at what she's accomplished, right? So where did it begin for you? When did she start hitting the ball around?
Well, it began with my older daughter back in, let's say 2007. I was coaching baseball out of high school. And it's actually how I met my wife. My stepson was on my team. She was divorced, all that good stuff. And after the season, it wasn't one of those, hey, we're looking for friends or anything like that.
Your kid's starting now.
Yeah, right? But so, we hit it off, and we ended up getting married, and we moved out to Riverside in 2004. I was still doing baseball. But my oldest daughter said, hey, I want to start playing softball. I'm like, okay, you know what? No problem. Sign her up. I was just a dad in the stands, and I was watching what the coach was doing and me being me. And, I'm like, Oh no. And I jumped in and started helping them out just so we can, make sure we're laying some good fundamentals. And then, like most of us, that's where we just fall in love with the sport. I mean, the speed of the game, the girls, the athleticism. I mean, I prefer watching softball than I do baseball. Now it is what baseball should be. And so that's how I kind of got into softball. And then, you join the little leagues, you're taking the all-star teams. We took 2 teams in a row to, ASA Nationals as a rec ball for the first time the rec league had anybody go to nationals.
What league were you guys in?
Orange Crest ASA. So it still is good league. Matter of fact, I volunteered and did a coaching this last spring there and just helped out just for fun of it. I mean, so it was a good time, but
I think that is a unique strength for you guys at SoCal, the rec leagues. It's kind of unspoken. Like just in terms of players that come through, right? At least get started.
Well, it is kind of true. I'll tell you what, Lauren's very first team, jumping back to Lauren now, I had Lair Boutte, who's at Tennessee. I had Angelina Allen, who's at Iowa State, Lauren, who's at Kentucky, and Kayla Lefty Pollard, who's at Florida now. All on the same team. Oh, sorry. And Haley White, who is now at Utah, starting there as a freshman. All on the same rec ball team.
We were lucky. We kind of had the same experience, right? We started with Lauren Chamberlain, and I guess that's okay, right? And,
yeah.
About 8 or
Wasn't
9.
Megan Bush on that team too, or Kylie Lanners?
Lanners played for us. Emily Kerner. There was an army of kids that played together, and Mike, I'm sure, would back at 8U, 10U, it's the same thing, right? Trying to identify like-minded kids. Yeah. What were your favorite memories? What's the big highlights when they're babies?
Oh gosh,
you took them to nationals, right? First time ever.
Yeah, I mean, there's just some games. Most of it, honestly, they're always the losses that I remember the most. It's not the wins or the walk-offs or something like that. It's like, here's a funny story for you. So the first year we go to nationals, we're in state, and we're in the qualifying game, and this umpire, right? There's a play at home. We throw out this girl, home plate, brings her up, no problem. It was a great double relay. It was the tying run coming in for them. And the base umpire called obstruction at home.
Uh-oh.
I'm like, no, we're not doing this. You're out by the shortstop. You should be watching trailer. Like, I get into it with this guy. I was young in the sport. I didn't know better in how to go about the argument. Anyway, somehow I managed to not get tossed from that game. We ended up coming back to win. But the next year, when we're about to go to nationals again, the same guy, same obstruction call, not quite as bad where I'm calling the page. I come in, I just start, and I just said, this is 2 years in a row you've done that to me. His head dropped down. So flash forward, like, I don't know, 2-3 years later, he comes to me. He's like doing a friend. That's like, oh, hey, I want to get in with those PGF guys. And do you know who I could call? I'm like, nope.
Yeah. You're going to have to grind that contact information out for someone else.
Exactly. But, honestly, it's never the game. And I'm sure it's the same way for you guys. It's just the people you meet on the way and how you help them through, the tough times of their high school career, right? And what they're going through on a day in, day out basis in there. And then watch them get into college and graduate. And I even got kids that are coaching D1 college now. And those kids are special. But, it's always the wedding invitation you get in the mail that says, to Mr. and Mrs. Coach Greg Borzilleri. It's like, it's that stuff. It's the notes. It's, it's very rarely the game. But
or the hats, right? The hats behind you.
Oh, absolutely. And these are, that's the one thing I tell everybody that they owe me is a hat after, they get committed. And when I look at them, I got this shelf here, then I got a couple more racks over here I just don't have room for. But when I see them, I see the people. I don't see the Baylor or the Mississippi State, whatever. I don't even care. That's Brooke Cantillo. That's Princeton is Serena Starks or Allie Haw, Florida. So that's what I see when I see them. I see the people.
Well, you've done an amazing job getting kids to some, great destinations, right? And I think that's the payout for us. And Mike's done the same thing in terms of getting kids to that next place. What's the one kid that you helped the most that you feel like, wow, I'm glad I was in that person's life at that time?
There's a couple that really come to mind just because for several reasons. One of them didn't even finish, and that was Joey Samper. She's back in my Team Smith days. She ended up at North Dakota State. I think after her sophomore year, she stopped playing softball, but she finished and got her degree there, right? She left on good terms, all that good stuff. But that was just one of the kids where you felt that you did something to impact that kid's life that made it better. That's definitely one of them. God, there's so many. I would say I had a special moment happen this last summer, and a girl, Hannah Ramalot, she went to Cal Poly Pomona, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and her grades were not the best. It's a pretty decent academic school, but she got through and graduated. Well, the coach, Jen Condon, came to me this summer and she's like, Greg, I just want you to know we got her through. And we had just a little moment together. Me and Jen just, you know what? Good on Hannah for doing whatever it took to get through and get that degree. She's going to become a teacher, I believe now. But it was just one of those moments where you just like, you know what? We found a way to get her in, and then she found a way to get it done. And apparently COVID was a big help for her because then she went to these online classes and was able to catch up on a bunch of stuff or something like that. But I was very proud to hear that, and just to have that moment with Coach Condon was a pretty special moment too.
Yeah, I think it's a couple of things, right? Making sure we get our kids to, the best destination possible, right? And it's not easy. Mm-hmm. And then just continuing to build that pipeline, because it's really about the college coaches saying, hey, who do you have and who can help us? And I want another Mercado kid, right? I want Greg, who's the kid that really you want to send our way? And those kind of discussions are invaluable. And I appreciate that you have that, because, that's important, right? That's the key thing. But before you got to that stage, you had to transition to club ball. When did you decide to make that move?
All right. So, you get the bug bitten, when you get those all-star teams through, and
we could be better than this.
Right. Watch this. And so we started doing like a select team, basically, and started to do the travel ball circuit. And we had a pretty decent squad. And well, I knew I couldn't run by myself. So believe it or not, and you'll know this name, and you probably haven't heard it in 10 years, 89. I was SoCal Dynasty with Art Lilly.
Very nice. Out of Riverside, they were big time.
Yeah. Well, not when by the time that this is, 06-ish, 07, I don't know, something like that. I figured out that it wasn't the end all be all. So I stayed there for one fall, and then I was got hooked up with Terry Schweikert and Julie Smith over at Team Smith.
Very nice.
That's where I really jumped in. Full 2 feet, the whole nine, and
they had nice uniforms.
Absolutely, and we were badass too.
They were good.
We were good.
Yes.
And that's really, I started going, and then my oldest daughter, because this is Kendall. Then after that season, I let her go to 18s, and I stayed at 16s, and I took 16s, and then I never left 16U until a couple years ago. I stepped away for well, actually no, I take that back, because I took 2 teams.
It was just last year.
Yeah, last year.
I think I chased you out.
Oh, absolutely. I got hurt running the bases on you guys so much that, we needed a break.
You're a fun. Oh, that's good, brother. That's good.
Yeah. So that's how it happened. You get the bug and you just start growing and building, and then you build something special, and I think that I was building something special, whether it's at Team Smith or when I was at Explosion with Brett. We really had something going on good for a little bit. And then I had an instance with a player that, and I'm sure we'll get into the some of the horror stories later that, made me go full time over to Mercado to hang out with my younger daughter. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you bring up Brett Denayo. He's been another big name in the sport, right? I coached Katie Denayo on our 10U team that went to ASA Nationals.
Yeah,
we were lucky to win that national championship, and Brett was along with us, and been a friend since. But similar, take them out to Rec Ball All Stars. We're like, we're pretty good. Let's add a couple pieces. Let's go out. And, the story continues to be told. In Texas is a little different, right? I mean, we don't have the universe of players. We got enough talent, but it's collecting them and starting the process at 10U. I know Mike, the Donkeys and all these other teams, but you got serious about 10U, 12U as well.
Yeah. It was about, it was 2008, I guess, when we really jumped in and got serious about it. We came over to Texas Glory and, just had a lot of great years on it. But my story is very similar, right? I mean, I was a dad that just happened to be at all of the practices, and I was actually Scott Edwards that was coaching the team that Jade was on, and he just said, "You're here all the time. You come help coach," and it's kind of history from there. So
yeah, I think we all are dads, right? And have their best interests at heart.
Yeah. So, Greg, Ed and I, we were talking earlier, and I guess it's a good transition. What do you think is working in our sport right now, and what kind of things do you feel like need to change?
That's a loaded question on several fronts, because really there is multiple answers. One, we got to do something about the transfer portal one way or another. It's just. And I think it'll sort itself out a little bit once we get further from the COVID years and the extra years there. But there's a lot of kids that either landed in the wrong home for one reason or another. But there's too many kids that think it's too easy to go in and not be able to come out because they all think that there's going to be a school waiting on them, and there's not. I mean, I tell you right now, I got a very good player who's played international with Team Mexico and still did not find a home for her final year, for a grad year. Just roster sizes killed her or whatever the case, because honestly, she didn't even need money. It was just one of those things that, she could not connect, right, or in time to be able to get in the schools. I would like to see a little bit of change on kind of the window for the portal. And I don't know what that looks like. There's a lot of people smarter than me working on it for sure. I do like the September 1st change to juniors. I would like to move it to July 1st, though, to match up with when a kid officially becomes a freshman or a sophomore or a junior, because that's why Colorado was always the same week every year. Is after that July 1st Sunday is for contact. I would like to change it to then to give the parents a little bit more time to spread out visits. And I think that would be very helpful financially for them. Because let's be real, they're not all going to take official visits. They're going to take unofficials to some of the places, but it gives people a chance to have real conversations with schools while they're still playing summer ball. So they can actually interact with them a little bit more. They can see them play in real time. There's not that month dead period where now they're throwing the phishing emails out a little bit more. But I would like to see that September 1 go to July 1. I think that'd be really helpful. On the softball side itself for us in our youth leagues, or whatever we call it, I can't even remember the NFCA term, what they call us, grassroots.
I'm a grassroots coach.
Yeah, we're grassroots. Honestly, I would like to see us have a lot more interaction and true, meaningful discussions with the NFCA, and actually be able to help shape some of these rules that we end up having to navigate our way through blindly, because it just gets pushed down to us. and we have to figure out how to make it work best for these kids and these potential student athletes.
Well, you've gone to bat for us before. I mean, you drafted that letter, and I think it changed the dialogue. So
I think there's a lot of good that came out of that, and I'm going to give the NFCA a lot of credit for this. After that letter went out, they responded. They jumped on a Zoom call with me, with Drohan and why is her name escaping me right now? The president of the NFC, the CEO.
Carol,
thank you. Jumped on a call with me, Carol, and we had a great conversation. And I think it did at least get back into the council room, and there might have been some discussions. Whether or not we changed it or not, I give them a ton of credit and say, you know what, they picked up the phone, they didn't take it for granted, and they at least tried to address some of our concerns. So I'll give them that. And the way the legislation ended up, I think it works out. It was just what they were proposing at the time, or what leaked, was not would be acceptable. It would have been unmanageable for us on this end of it. That's for sure.
No, I really do appreciate it. I know we talked about it during that timeline, and it was really about making sure, the voices of the club teams were heard, right, and the club coaches.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. September 1 it's almost been a blessing. I do agree July 1 would be really helpful just to have dialogue. It's going to happen anyway. Just it takes us a little bit out of the mix as club coaches. We'll be involved anyway, but why wouldn't they be talking to players that they're genuinely interested in, right? Genuinely interested. Those discussions are going to be had either through a third party or they're going to happen anyway. But I do like September 1 because I think we're seeing it. The sport will improve. And you talked about kids being in the wrong situations or being in a place where they may not fit, and that's through no one's fault. It's just by happenstance. I used to always call it the redraft. If people could redraft, what would they do? They would change their decisions, collectively, whether it was the college coach or the individual player. So I think the September 1 it minimizes risk, really, right? I mean, the kids that are getting recruited are pretty well established. I mean, you're not guessing at an 8th grader.
Yeah, there's some truth to that. Now, the downside is the juniors that don't get recruited in fall and have to wait to the following spring and summer, outfielders a lot. You're
sure.
Not top half of your lineup type kids. Your role players. The problem that we're going to have with them is they're panicking a lot faster now because that phone didn't ring when it was supposed to at September 1st, and their dreams were happening. So there's going to be a lot of bad decisions that are being made because it's what they feel is the only decision at the time. Although we all know if you take care of this sport, the sport's going to take care of you, and you're going to find a home, whether it's your senior year or what. But I think we're going to see another flood into the portal after this next go around, because now we're really seeing those kids that had the first September 1st going to school now. Right. So last year was year 1 of anybody that was September 1st going in. So I think this year's portal showed it to some degree. Next year, I think, is really going to show it.
Yeah, for me, I think looking at, we look for fit, we look for, level of interest. And is it a place where you can make a contribution, right? And those are challenges. But when we talked about September 1, one discussion we're having, and we've had this ongoing now for the entire class of 2024, we've told them that you're going to be, the entire universe of recruits is going to fall into one of 3 buckets. On September 1, you're going to either get significant interest, you'll get preliminary interest, or you'll get minimal to no interest, right? And it just level sets you. Don't worry about it. I also feel, and Mike, you've gone through it with your daughter, there's always another opportunity. We just have to dig in. And I think the recruiting process is slowing down. Portal, transfer, budgets, they're swinging wildly from year to year. And we're seeing it more in football. We're seeing it in men's basketball. We're seeing it now in softball, where these people don't have a 4-year plan for this class. They're year to year. Let me build the best team I can, and let's go from there. I think that's where we're transitioning.
Yeah, and you can definitely see the ones that try to do it that way. So,
and it leads us into the next question, really the recruiting landscape, and specifically Mike or Greg, we talk about it offline a lot. How do you win in this space, right? What do you do differently? How do we make sure that your players, have opportunities and get to the place where, they hope to get to? I mean, for me, when it's a cross section, right? When a player can play at a certain level, it's my job to get her there. It's my job to get her there to the best of my ability, whether it's, making phone calls, get her in front of those schools, getting the invites, influencing a better outcome. It's competitive, right? This is the one you got to win. It's more than the scoreboard. This is the one that changes people's lives. And I always think about it this way. I mean, I want our kids to get their share and more, right, of what the opportunities are. So when you're thinking about it, Greg, and I know you lead a lot of the efforts for Mercado, how do you approach it? How do you prepare your kids? How do you see it changing and evolving?
Yeah. Well, luckily we got a great support team. It's definitely not just me at Mercado. I mean, Chrissy Haynes does a great job. Rick Overmill's doing a great job. Dave and Brian Tid, do a great job. There really is multiple people, but one thing that I think today's athlete doesn't realize, or family really, is they're recruiting off of the backs of the kids that came before them and laid that groundwork and really, put a team or an organization on the map. But as coaches, and if there's one thing I could give to any coach out there that is just starting to get in or anything like that, be brutally honest with yourself about your players and their ability level. And more importantly, about does their level match the school you're talking to? Because if I go to Tim Walton and say, you know what, I got this kid, she's going to be great, she'll hit free hole for you, all this good stuff, and she can't play a lick, he will never come back to me for a player or even a conversation. Or, hey, Greg, what's your opinion on this kid? Just you'd be surprised how often schools will reach out to people like me or you guys on, hey, this kid doesn't play for you, but what do you think of her? Right? They're always picking our brains on things that they're trying to kids that they're looking at. But if you're having those honest conversations about their ability levels, their pluses and their negatives, what their growth needs to be, and you're not sending them a problem child who's going to go run into their athletic director, and they feel they can actually trust you because you're going to give them their honest opinion, they'll keep coming back.
We had a shortstop. This is a long time ago. Mike, you were with us. Her name was Mariana Gemelli. A little undersized kid, but she was a baller, right? Mm-hmm. So we're playing all summer long. And we're trying to get her through. She must have been in 2014 or it's been a while. So it was back in the early recruiting stage. And similar discussion, right? There was a couple schools that really wanted her. And in the end, Wichita State was there at the finish line. And, I felt like she could help them. I was very confident with that. But as it turned out, we played Corona and Dina a ton that summer. So we're behind the backstop and Dina comes by, Dina Tyson. And I asked her to talk to Christy. Can you spend 2 minutes talking to her about this kid? And then she ends up at Wichita State. Yeah. So it's the ability just to speak on behalf of other kids, right? And they don't have to be in our program. For me, from a Texas perspective, and I'm sure you feel the same way for SoCal, you want those kids to win jobs, right? And if they're the right kid, you're going to say the right things. If they're not, you'll quietly say, hey, I'm not sure, coach, you should watch her more, right?
Yeah. And that was, for me, I know that was one of the first things I learned when I got into this. And I've had, great mentors along the way. And one of those things was to have that brutal honesty with those college coaches about that player's abilities. And I know there's a lot of programs that will sell their players, and I definitely credit learning that early on to the relationships that I have today with these college programs, and they appreciate that honesty. And something you touched on there, Greg, also. And a lot of people don't even realize this, and I know it's true in our market, that we get calls all the time from college coaches that are asking about a kid from another program. And I think a lot of times we get those calls first, and I definitely think that happens because of that level of honesty that we have. We're not gonna send a player that doesn't belong there, because that, like you said, we want them to go play.
Yeah.
It's just not about the commitment. It's about them having success when they get there. So.
Yeah, for me it was kid that ended up at A&M. But which kid that you think you may have helped behind the scenes? Which one ended up at a really big place, Greg?
Oh, I don't know. There's a couple. I'll tell you what. And this player will remain nameless. Various reasons. No, serious. So I had a conversation. Matter of fact, it was with Joe Evans.
There we go.
And she came to ask me about this particular kid, and my response basically was, "Hey Joe, I would go in a different direction. I see this kid not be a good teammate several times on the field, right? Turning, yelling at her teammates, stuff like that. They were young at the time. This is before the recruiting rule changed.
Right.
180, about 2 years later, I see the same kid, right? And this kid is the consummate best teammate I could see in a game where we are absolutely shellacking them. And a perfect opportunity for her to be the perfect bad teammate. But you know what? She showed just growth, and she kind of figured it out. That day, I picked up the phone to Joe. I said, "Hey, you remember you asked me about this kid? I just want you to know." Sorry, I shot her a text. It was a text that I sent her. "I just want you to know we just played him. This happened. Boom, boom, boom. I think that this kid has turned a corner, and I would have no reservations on her as a teammate based off of what I just saw." Right? Didn't play for me, play for another organization.
Sure.
Kid is a baller. She is a top level recruit that is just now going into her freshman year at her school. But perfect example of, and no, she didn't end up at A&M, but she's at a World Series contender now.
She's doing well.
Sure. Yeah, the kid can play. But that's absolutely an instance where I remember vividly a conversation with college coach of the kid.
Very nice. I mean, what a blessing to have Joe Evans in your market, right? What is she going to do at Santa Barbara? Kill
it. I mean, how do you know? This is what they always got me about that particular school, and no offense to anybody, but your softball field's on the beach.
And it's nice.
How do you not kill it there? So I expect big things from Joe for sure. And what a just consummate pro, and somebody that, I would do anything for. I mean, I love Joe. Hey, who doesn't love Joe Evans?
I definitely love Joe, and for probably for a different reason. My daughter was going through the recruiting process, and this was back when they were, recruiting 7th and 8th graders. And Joe was one of the coaches that had showed interest in her. And, ultimately it came down to that they weren't going to go, it wasn't an option for us. And, she was just very honest with us and just said, it's going to be a no. And, for me as a parent, and for my daughter as, a 7th grader or whatever she was going through the process, to be able to mark off a school off of that list that we had and move on, that was a big deal for us. And she has always remained one of my favorite coaches because of that. And I remember going through that process wishing that all of the coaches would do that and just say, hey, this isn't going to be the right fit, so that we can move on.
I mean, it's just, loving Joe. Who doesn't love Joe Evans, right? I mean, I consider her a dear friend. I've been blessed to have her as a friend, and I'm glad she's on the West Coast. And I think you guys are going to get to. Obviously, Greg, you already know her, but I think that whole West Coast environment, they're going to. Every kid's going to end up knowing who Joe Evans is, right? And that's going to be a destination, because I think it won't take long, and she will be phenomenal. But I think she's just such a mentor to this sport and an icon. So I was excited when she got that job, and obviously when she had to move out from A&M, I'm glad she landed on her feet. And I know you'll take care of her, right? Who are you sending over to her right now?
As many as I can. Trust me. I've already gotten a couple of texts, and we talked.
Good. Yeah, I think she's going to be a good introduction to that market, and she'll make it more competitive, right?
Oh, instantly. instantly. Talk about instant credibility, you know.
So
I tell you, the other program out here that's starting to make a lot of noise there is Cal Baptist with Mike Smith back there again. What they're doing for facility upgrades and all that good stuff now too, they're coming on pretty strong too.
Mike only knows one thing, right? How to win, right?
I mean, he knows how to win.
He wins everywhere he goes, and he's home again, right? So look out.
Yeah. So speaking of recruiting out there, we know what you guys do out there in terms of recruiting. But who is the biggest competitor in your market for you?
Well, there's the big five. There's us, the Angels, Batbusters, Firecrackers. I don't even know who the fifth is. So I'm sure my phone will ring after this one.
You're gonna hear from the Choppers.
Choppers, they've done a great job through the years. They really have. You can even go off of Cal Cruisers or Explosion too. Have done a great job of just doing their thing. I mean, Mel for years, Cruisers only had a handful of teams, but their teams were always competitive.
Absolutely.
They were always there in the top 10 at the end. And matter of fact, when I was at Explosion, when I would have the kids that weren't going to make our gold team for whatever reason, like it was a number count or whatever, Mel was one of the first people I was calling, to make sure that they would find a home. So, but what Marty does, especially on a day in, day out basis, from how we compete and all that good stuff, is absolutely. I think the world of him and what he's doing with that program, and not building 800 million teams and just having his, 15 teams or whatever he's got now, 20, I don't even know. But what he does is really good day in, day out. So matter of fact, and we talked about a story offline of why I went to Mercado previously, but one of the other biggest reasons is I was coaching a game against Marty, and it was the year I was doing 14s and 16s at the same time. And it's the year before that, because I was still at Explosion. So it's my last year at Explosion. I'm 16s. And my daughter was playing with Mercado because we didn't have younger age groups at Explosion at that time. And Marty just looks at me, Greg, what the fuck are you doing, man? Why aren't you with your kid now? I coached every one of my kids for all these years, and just he started that little thing in the back of my head. And I couldn't be more thankful for some of the conversations I had with him that really made me realize, that I need to really pay attention and not lose these years back then with her. And that's one of the reasons that I went over to Mercado to take over her team in 14s and 16s. But and I'll just go into the story now because it probably fits. But, we had this really great pitching staff at Explosion. I mean, we were probably top 5 team in the country that year. And we had this player that, they needed a lot of, they were needy. Let's just say it that way, in the recruiting aspect of it.
Who's watching me? Have you heard anything?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, we're talking twice a week consistently. Hey, this is the newest. This is the latest.
You want me to follow up with you? Can you want to call me the other day?
It was one of those struggle ones. And well, we got her. She ended up committing to a really big school, right? Power 5 of Power 5. And I'm at a visit with my youngest daughter, Lauren, who's at Kentucky now. And we were at Oregon on a visit at the time. And I get the call, and I'm thinking, oh, great, this is going to be the thanks coach, call. And then it's like, no, they were calling to quit because I didn't give them any of the big games, is what I was told. So right then and there, I looked at my daughter and I said, all right, either I'm coming to you or you coming to me. Which one is it? And she's all, well, I love my team, so you're coming to me. So between that moment and my conversations with Marty, kind of putting that in my ear, that's the sole reasons that I ended up leaving Explosion and going to Mercado to help out over here. And, it's been great over here, working with them. So, and really kind of helping build something that they're doing a great job of building for sure. But feeling that I have a piece of it too.
Yeah, no, there's no question. I think that's the hard part. When you're not coaching your own kid and she's playing somewhere, I think Marty, they're family, right? And they stay true to that. And I enjoyed all my interactions with that Tyson clan, right? It's always a war. It's always a fight.
Always fun. It's always fun.
But it's all softball.
Yeah.
And we get off the field and we hug it out and we talk a little trash and we keep on playing, right?
Hey, that's like me and you right there, Eddie. 100%. We've had some wars through the years.
We have. You talked about that, your favorite game, you son of a... Yeah. That was a good memory. We're beating them. We had them on the ropes. We had them down early. And usually if we're ahead, we're like, we're going to be able to figure this piece out.
Yeah.
But
so that was the Oklahoma game, right?
That's right. You guys got rolling. Yeah.
So, and I think I mentioned this before, but for sake of the podcast, I'll let you revisit this one. So we're in Oklahoma. We're down. I think you guys were up 3-0 on us. I want to say it's an elimination game to get into the Final Four or something to get into the double dip, because we ended up playing Texas Impact after that. But down the line, my first base line up along the fence, we had Florida, Oklahoma State, Mike Smith at Cal Baptist, matter of fact. And probably 5-10 schools. All Jimmy Kalidas, I think, was down there. And I was
they were on your side.
The sun would have been in their face if they were in third base. How about that? Because it was. We selected that dugout for a reason. So I walk in that and I said, that's all right. They're about to get run rolled and they don't even know it. And then I think the next half of inning, we hit 8 hits in a row. Zoe Karam hit a ball that hasn't landed yet. That was about a 320 into a 15 or 20 mile an hour wind, grand slam. That was just a mammoth shot. And
that was a bit of a backbreaker.
Yeah.
And over a 320 fence.
Yeah. It was just annihilated. It's one of the biggest balls I've ever seen hit in a meaningful moment, No,
I thought you guys, that team, we didn't have an answer for you guys. We never had an answer for you all summer. That was a special group, especially I thought offensively, right? You did what you're supposed to on the field defensively, on the mound. You had the kids that could slow us down, but at the plate, my God. Yeah, that was a juggernaut. That was an offensive team, but we felt the same way. We're up 3-0, then we give up 8 runs, and the good news is it didn't send us home. But But that was the fun part, right? We talked about it a little bit offline before you joined. Is that when we're playing each other, it's just all right. Here we go. We could look at the brackets, we could look at the pools, and we're like, we do what we're supposed to. We're going to get to these guys, and it's on. And I think here's why I like it. Number one, we're going to play great competition, but 2, and this is the part I feel is most important. When we play teams of your caliber, that's a meaningful game. And that's a great evaluation for our players. Our kids get done if they do something well against Athletics Mercado Greg or Marty Tyson, or you go down the list, right? It's just the way it is.
Yeah. You're not getting done against the little sisters of the poor. I mean, you're doing what you're supposed to do. I mean, I'll give you a great game that we had last year with that team. The Thunderbolts. We went out to the Thunderbolts fall showcase or whatever they did.
Right.
That previous fall. And they shellacked us. Okay. It was 10-0 in the second inning. They're hitting bombs and backflipping and all this stuff, and they just annihilated us. So after to get into the finals, into Sunday at Boulder for us that year, we had to go through the Thunderbolts. Right. And it was the Saturday night.
You get them 8 months later, right?
Yep. And the stands are packed. The energy's just through the roof at this place. We're at a community park, and we end up hitting a walk-off home run on them. That another ball that still hasn't hit landed. Lou Hovermill. Kid going to Florida now. on a 1-2 pitch, they throw this screwball in, and I don't know if they missed or what, but she didn't miss. And it was one of those, the second it was off the bat, everybody knew, and the place just erupted. That was a great game that I remember last year. Not for the fact that we won, because great, we've all hit walk-off home runs, but to be able to come back on a team who absolutely mopped the floor with you before and show that sort of heart and gut and be able to just put together a terrific performance, because it was a great game. I think the final was 4-3, and it was back and forth the whole time. That's a pretty memorable game on far as last year, goes. I mean, you always remember the national titles you win and all that good stuff, but
well, how many have you guys gotten so far?
I got a Triple Crown national title. I was on staff adjacent with Mercado several times in their 18s. But I've won everything, right? Boulder multiple times, every tournament you can in. But for whatever reason, whatever nationals of the team that was solely mine, I've come up short. Like besides Triple Crown nationals, that's one of them. Not to say, but it's not PGF and it's not Alliance right now. And last year's Alliance, we had the number one team I felt in the nation, and the Blaze double dipped us in that little super regional thing. And that center fielder that they have single-handedly beat us in one of the games. She robbed 3 home runs.
Townsend can go.
Yeah, that kid can play. And then they had a pitcher, and I can't remember her name. We knocked her out, I think, in the first 2 games. In the third game, for whatever reason, umpire was giving her this nice little 6-inch ball and a half off, and she hit that thing 45, 50 times, and there was nothing that we could do about it.
Yeah, we saw them 2 weeks prior. They were playing really well.
Yeah,
we were fortunate enough to beat them, but yeah, Blaze at the end was not the 16th best team in the country, right?
No. And I saw that when I saw the rankings coming out, I'm like, okay, here we go. I mean, it was fine. I mean, you got to beat who's in front of you, and they got us in supers. I thought last year, one of the year I had, I finished 5th in PGF this year when I had Stevie Hansen, Emily Lovett, and a really good offense. I thought that we had a chance, and when we finished 5th, we just kind of ran out of gas. And then one year, in my last year at Explosion, I thought I had 3 real cracks at winning it, and we didn't get it done at the end of the day. People don't realize how hard it is to win a national title. And that's one thing I give Dave credit for. He's got 6.
Yeah, he gets it done.
He knows how to in-game coach for sure.
Yeah, I think game management's a big piece of it, and also I think roster configuration. But it isn't easy. I don't think people understand, the metric. It's you got to get a bunch of good bounces, and you got to win a bunch of big games, and you got to stay consistent through that tournament.
You got to play great defense for a week above anything else. Yeah. And that's really hard a lot of times. And then take umpires out of it. Some of the umpiring that was this past was embarrassing. And sorry. You know, one of the biggest problems in our sport, it's umpires, and not the fact that they're bad or anything like that. But our parents and our coaches are chewing them up and spitting them out to the point where we're not going to get anybody quality in this sport. And if we don't change that piece of it and figure it out 5-10 years from now, we had a guy in nationals at Alliance now that was calling balls for strikes that were bouncing in. Like, super nice guy, though. You didn't want to yell at him. He's a nice guy. He's like a 75-year-old guy. It's like, I did the coin flip, and I walked back to the dugout. I said, boys, get ready for the worst strike zone you've ever seen. And boy, was I not wrong. But that probably is an underrated thing that we as a sport from top to bottom absolutely need to focus on, is how we're treating these umpires, how we're training these umpires. How do we get more quality umpires? Because we already have a shortage as it is, and this sport is not going to stop growing.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Honestly, think back to rec ball, right? You had to umpire some games if you're going to be a coach. You had to volunteer, and maybe there's an opportunity there for all of us to kind of dig in and get back there and call some balls and strikes. The other part is, we've got to be more respectful. And I'm not the poster child for being respectful to umpires.
I wasn't going to say it, Eddie.
No, I didn't get thrown out this year. I went a year without getting tossed. But there were times, we're playing in Oklahoma at Top Club. We're in a IDT situation, right? So we're gonna pinch run. I mean, we're gonna pinch run. Whoever we got on the bench is gonna be faster than the kid we ended up with, right? Just by happenstance. And the home plate umpire says you can't do that. I'm like, I can't make a sub because this is a straight sub. I'm not a catcher. I'm subbing this player. Says you cannot do that. And he's like, play ball. And I'm like,
UIC, this is under protest right now.
I said, you can play ball all you want. We're playing jazz, right? This game mattered.
Yeah.
And it was back and forth. I'm like, you can do whatever you want. We're not playing until we get a ruling on this decision. And of course, we were able to make a sub. And of course, we scored a couple runs, and we were fortunate to win that game. But yeah, I think
it is ITB. Otherwise, he would be holding it against you for the next 3 innings.
There's that. Yeah, we're fortunate we transitioned to another game and another set of umpires. Your biggest competitor, who's? You talked about Marty. I mean, we talked a little bit about the Batbusters. I mean, here they come, right?
Yeah, you know what a summer they put together up in 18s for sure. They play great defense. They don't make mistakes. And, Mike is a hell of an instructor. There's no doubt about it. One thing I've always admired about some of this kids is his outfielders. Right. The spin is always right on the ball. It's always the perfect long hop. Their mechanics, whatever he's teaching in general for his outfield, I think is some of the best out there. I mean, the guy's clearly a hell of an instructor. I'm not going to pretend to say that we're best buds or have had long conversations, philosophical, like, me and you do. When we see each other in the fields, we're nice to each other and say hello. But that guy absolutely knows how to coach the game. So, and good on them. I mean, because we all know, what Mark meant to that organization and what a force he was. And that's a big blow for anybody. For them to be having success again is great to see. It's like the Yankees, it's like the Chicago Bears. When they're good, the league is good. Travel ball is good. That's where they're meant to be.
Yeah, no, I agree with the Yankees analogy, and Mark Campbell, he was amazing, and it was just a tremendous loss for the sport. Yeah, because think of how many people that he influenced, how many people he touched. I just enjoyed. For me, I was always watching the Batbusters, and I feel I'm glad it's more of a renaissance for them, a return to what they've always been. I used to just like watching Doug's teams play, Doug Myers. I would just sit there and, all right, Doug's playing. Let's see what these guys do, because I'm learning, right? I'm learning. I want to see what their warm-ups look like. Their warm-ups are pristine. Their swings are great, and they play defense. I mean, they don't make errors. They don't make errors. But I think
there's not a nicer guy out there than Doug Myers. He lies to me every time he sees me. Greg, I think you're the greatest coach in travel. And I'm sure he says that to everybody, but just such a nice guy.
He is. He's an icon. And that's what the Batbusters have been, right? So to me, that's amazing.
Speaking of Doug Myers, and I'm going to say this since I know this is being recorded, and I don't know who's going to listen to it. If Doug Myers
is going to listen to it, and all your Mercado players.
Yeah, that's fine. Hey, if Doug Myers isn't in the NFCA Hall of Fame, he absolutely should be.
Well, you write yourself another letter.
Yeah, there you go.
I agree with that. I love Doug. He's, he was one of those guys that was always good to me when I was kind of a young guy coming up through it.
Yeah, Doug was great. Steve Harrington. I mean, there's old school guys, right?
That was talk about another kick to the gut. Steve especially is a reminder for me to never not say hi to somebody out of field or not say I love you to somebody when you not know, because I saw Steve the day before, and we're coming off the field. He was coming into the complex, but he saw that I was about to meet with my team, and we didn't say hello. We just didn't, which is for whatever reason. And for what happened to him, he was on his way to the field to go coach, and he just wasn't feeling well. Drove her to the hospital, and next thing you know, it's just a reminder to me. Always say hello to no matter who it is. That was a gut punch, and we're starting to see more and more of that. The older we get.
Yeah, I think we've got to make a habit of it, and you'll see me do it, right? I'll go on the field even when they're playing just to say hi to them, right? I don't care. And I drive the umpires crazy, but it's like I want to just say hi and see how they're doing, right? And I did that with Steve Harrington at the Bomber event in the fall, and that was it was tough to see him go, and I miss all our interaction. The first time we played him, he was with the Batbusters, and we're at IDT, and it's a pool game, and the Batbusters at that time, they were loaded. They were all juniors, so they were looking to win national championships, and they were all about that. And they, that summer it was about how many teams they could beat and how many rings they could win, and they're well positioned to do that. So we're playing them in a pool game. If I don't know how, but our kids we're hanging around, and then all of a sudden we got them in trouble. We have a big fifth inning, 90-minute game. It started to go our way, and we're hitting, we're home, and we're running the clock. And Steve's getting mad. He's like, seriously, you're running the clock? And I'm like, and I told him at the time, I said, Steve, I know this don't not mean much to you, but this is a meaningful win for our program. And we're going to get it. We're going to get it. With 2 minutes left and nobody out, we're winning this game.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you what, Steve Harrington was one of the best pregame planners and situation. Whatever you did not do well, he was going to exploit it. He was going to find a way. One of the best scouting coaches that I ever saw.
Yeah, we played him later at IDT. We got to the finals. So you got Harrington and Doug Myers coaching that team, right? So they we're visitors, and they send out their starting lineup on defense. And I look around at our staff, and I said, all right, how many of these kids played in our first game? And they're like, I think 2. The other 7 were on the field. And they took us apart. But hey, it's just part of the journey, getting to know these guys and spending time with them. From a training perspective, right? I'm sure there's some commonality, but what are the 2 or 3 things that you guys do with Mercado that you think really have grown the sport and really made you more successful?
Well, honestly, that's one thing I give Dave and Brian the most credit for is the training. They think about the game differently. They really do. It is not, hey, hit the ball to the outfield, run to second, hit your cut. It's not that. It is definitely situational softball with a lot of next level thought put into it. And that's a lot of Dave, I think, in just through the years. He's so good situational. He's one of the best I've ever seen. And, I'm not going to say that says a lot coming from me or anything like that, but right. It really is special to see what he's done. But all of our teams run the same practice, and it is regimented. It's the same whether you're at a 10U team or an 18U team, that up and down the lineup, everybody is running, quote unquote, the same script. And so when they come up through the ranks, there is a baseline of everybody has this base together. We're fine. You got some kids from outside the organization that made the team. Great. Let's get them plugged in as fast as we can. But we're already running. So when we get to nationals, we're out executing everybody. And I'll say for our particular team this year, besides us not taking care of the ball when we absolutely had to, that's probably one area where we needed to improve, is we didn't hold ourselves accountable enough to who we are and what we do in order to get the job done. And that's why we finished 3rd, 5th. I don't even remember where we finished. So But that is, I think, the secret to Dave and Brian's success more than anything else is the consistency of the training up and down the line. And I don't know what other people do. I've been in a handful of places, but that more than anything else is their consistency in teaching the game and, frankly, thinking about it on another level.
Yeah, and I like that. And that consistency gives you also the ability to plug in your coaches as well. If you've got a 14U coach that needs to go help out a 12U coach or an 18U team or whatever, for whatever reason, that streamline seems like it would fit great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's about creating a standard. I mean, I think for us, from a practice perspective, it's about tempo. It's about making sure we hit the right reps and that we're understanding why we're doing certain things, right? But I do love your defense because they're an attacking defense, right? So it's like it was a couple seasons back, and they backpicked one of our base runners, Tia Warsup, and then 2 innings later they backpicked Logan, and I'm like, guys, are we ever going to learn? They're always in motion. They're looking for you. And if we want to steal a bag, let's steal a bag, but let's not get off the bag and just be. And they were bang bang plays, but yeah. I think they felt like our base runners felt like they don't have a shot at me, but but Mercado had probably practiced this 1,000 times. They just need space. Yeah. They're looking for room, and once they have room, we're going to attack that.
Yeah, no, I was actually on staff with you that season. I remember that vividly because I actually used that as an example when I'm coaching base running to the younger kids, and they executed that play twice, absolute perfection.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, one of the people that you can thank for that is Bill Conroy, because when he runs his things, we're going to come up with our counters for him, and we're going to start thinking of, all right, how are we going to defend when they're doing this or X, Y, Z, and that's how we build off of each other, right? So, you're building off of what we're doing to you, and we're building off of what Conroy did to us, or, whatever the case may be. But, that's how we evolve, and the sport keeps growing.
Yeah, I think, and that's, unless you're in that space, you don't know what that space is, right? But that's neither here nor there. But for me, I know what that space looks like. I know what we what our level of play needs to become. And I love your example of the Bolts beating you early and then you beating them late. We're a big proponent of that. We're going to be better in the summer than we are in the fall. We're on a perpetual upswing. And that's just about, our training regimen and the standards we have and the confidence. I always tell our kids, college coaches are going to come watch us, and we're not going to disappoint them. We're going to be great. And the other component is if we cannot be in a position where someone's outworking us, because Mercado's working this hard. Tyson's working this hard. The Batbusters are coming. Anytime we run into Conroy, it's going to be a war. There's all these legacy programs that are amazing, and we look forward to play them, but we have to be prepared. And it's a perpetual climb to get to there in June, July, and if we're fortunate, in August.
Yeah. And you guys, what it feels like, what it looks like, because we've been there for, 15, 20 years, however many years we're in now. But yeah, when you have it, when you're in trouble.
Yeah. And if we're outgunned, that's fine. But when we're not, let's go. Yeah. And for me, it's been a great ride. Any closing comments now? We've had you for a while.
Nah, Eddie, I appreciate you guys asking me to come on and do this. Anytime that me and you talk, this is just like we're talking on the phone, honestly, because we've had some conversations and some great wars through the years. I'll never forget when you bounced me. We've talked a lot about me winning, so I'm going to give you one that you want. When you
guys get us more often than we beat you.
Yeah, when you bounced me out of Colorado with that my last explosion team, that was one of the teams that I really thought I had a great shot at the national title that year. We were up 5-0, I think, in the 6th, and you put up a 7 spot because we decided to throw the ball over the yard, and I think you might even had an inside the park home run on us, and there was just nothing I could do. Just sit there and wear it And I'll never forget that game because I can still picture that ball being thrown down the right field line on a bunt. That was just, yeah, you might have done it all with 2 outs too, if I'm not mistaken.
There you go.
I mean,
there you go.
It was just one of those innings and you sent me home from Colorado that year. So I'll never forget that one.
I mean, for me, we want to win. We want to compete. But, I measure success differently, right? What happens to our kids after that season? I always think about Colorado this way, or IDT, or PGF, or Alliance. I take a look at that picture, and then I look at it a year later, and I'm like, look at where these kids are at now.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what success is. And I know you've got those hats back there. I've got T-shirts at home. I mean, it's been a blessing, right? It's been a blessing.
What a unique journey. Like, in a million years, I would have never thought that I would have gone down this road and this path. I mean, yes. I mean, you work hard for it. You're in the moment. But honestly, it's about being around about the right things and caring about the right people. And I think those are the results that you get by doing it that way. Because but just unique from rec ball, just coaching, for the first time to get to this all these years later is a unique journey for anybody that goes on. And there's not a lot of people that have gone through what we've gone through, especially in the era. And Eddie, I can thank you more for the friendship through the years and the wars and all that good stuff. But more importantly, just the conversations through the years that we have. And your wife is, a saint, clearly. But it's the people that matter more than anything else. It's not, national titles are great. The winning's great. It's a lot of fun, right? Beats the alternative. But it really is the lives that you do get affect through the years. And, to have, that be the number one thing is absolutely right.
Well, we're looking to air this before September 1. So for those kids out there, what words do you have for them?
If you do not get a call September 1st, it is not the end of the world. The softball has its own recruiting timeline. It has its own, like, I could probably look at that Arkansas hat up there right there was a kid that came to me her junior year, right? Fall of her junior year that had not been committed and it was not, this is before the September 1 change.
She was wide open.
Wide open, right? Didn't have much going on. Yeah, within a couple of weeks we got her done and situated. But that kid, fall of her January of her junior year, didn't have anything going on. And there you go. She ended up having a great career. Lots of injuries. She really didn't play a lot at Arkansas because of her injuries and stuff, but got a great degree, played a great program from something that basically had nothing. But she didn't get a call in September 1. Matter of fact, she's in her junior year of when it was all wide open. And there's no holds barred. So she went that deep. But I can think of several kids that, it melts your heart to look at them and see that, what they got through in that degree. But for anybody going through this process right now, I would also say, don't let anybody else rush you either, right? If you're one of the lucky ones to get those calls, September 1, September 2nd, good on you. Take your time and do your visits. Don't let anybody say, hey, I got 2 weeks and I got to make an offer. If they're doing that, they are not the right school for you or anybody else. Okay. Because that's not the way this should be. That's how more mistakes will be made. But just understand that recruiting has its own timeline and nobody's recruiting journey is the same. So just take care of the field, keep getting better, right? Because if you're not getting better, it does not matter because you're not going to make it there anyway. And take care of the field and your teammates and be a great teammate no matter what. If somebody else got 35 calls and you didn't get any, go be happy for that kid right there because that kid is going to actually help get more schools to come see you if they haven't made their decisions and all that good stuff, right? The big fish help the little fish plenty of times because you never know when you can perform when they're coming to watch somebody else. But just trust in God. Make sure that you put the work in where it belongs. And the sports will take care of you. I have yet to see a kid go through and do all the right things and not get a school by the end of their senior year. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, for us as a metric, right? Because we're not talking about teams, we talk about classes. Because I've got, multiple rosters. So I want to make sure that the class is taken care of. I'll tell you the class above us, the 23 class, we got them all done, right? And that's a big accomplishment. And that's just a testimony. They didn't all happen on September 1, but we just keep grinding it out. We keep working and we just keep digging in for those kids. Where do you guys stand with the 23 class over?
We still have a couple available and really good ones, just for multiple reasons, outfielders especially, and one catcher who just needs some maturation and stuff like that. They'll be fine. I'm not overly concerned about them not finding a home. It's just whether or not that home fits what they want to accomplish.
Right.
But yeah, we still have a couple still. So, and I know that's consistent across the country, that more and more programs, it doesn't matter how big you are, there's still some stragglers out there because of the extra COVID year and the portal, especially. I think that after this next round, 24s are still going to have some money issues there because of the portal more than anything, but it'll start to clear up the COVID money after the 24s. And then I think the 25s will go a little bit back to a new normal, for lack of a better term. But yeah, we still got one or two left.
Yeah, I see a twofold. 24 class, I'm excited for them, but the landscape has changed, right? There'll be some teams that World Series Power 5 teams, they may not go heavy. They won't go as deep as they normally have back pre-COVID, right? They just won't. No. They're, and we talked about it, and I think we both aligned that I think the number of opportunities for the 24 class in relationship to, say, the 20 class, the 16 class, the 12 class has been shrunk to maybe 50% of what it used to be. So I agree with you. Take your time. Be smart about your objectives. Make sure you align, where you want to go, where you fit in best in terms of capability. Really lean into your program, right? Your organization, and work hard on their behalf. But it's fluid now. It's, there could be, if you're Arizona State, you felt like, hey, you didn't have any money left. That changed pretty quick, right? As an example, right? Yeah. As an example. And that's that's the crazy part now. So I think it's year over year. And Greg, we had talked to a college coach, Mike would as well. It's like, I don't have any money in that class. Those days, I think, are over. They'll find it if they need it. And it's really about what you talked about in terms of capability, making sure the kids, prepared and taking care of what's happening on the field. Well, Greg, I appreciate it, big man. This has been a pleasure always. I just enjoy our conversations, like you said, but more importantly, our friendship means a lot. And I'm sure we'll have a couple viewers, right? We got a few hundred last time. We might get into the thousands. Won't be as viral as your video with your daughter.
Oh my God, the softball video! We didn't talk about that. Yeah,
that's 200,000 views on its last run or something like that.
Yeah, it's getting up there, and I think it might have crossed 1 million the first time that it posted and went live. This is the second time going around, and we're sitting around the table for my daughter's going away party, and somebody started talking about it, so I pulled it up and I said, what, I'm going to just repost this thing right now. And it's going again. It's got, a couple thousand shares on whatever platforms it is. But the story behind that was she had a team assignment for Mercado, and she decided to impersonate Mark Smith, who we talked about earlier. And he just rifles balls at kids. And I was in my office at the time in here working and said, hey, come here, I need you for a video. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm wearing flip flops, probably had a couple of cold ones in me or something like that. I don't know. And we go out to my cage. It's right outside this window right here. And I see what she's about to do. I'm like, whoa. What are we doing here? Yeah, impersonating Mark and blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. So once she told me, I went and got the light flights at least, because she literally tossed a real ball up and I saw it come on. We are close to that being a really bad video. And then
that makes sense, because when that ball get hit, it starts to elevate and it misses you. Because if they were regular balls, you'd be wearing some things.
Oh, my cage is 45 feet, whatever it is. And we were probably already 10, we're probably 35 feet away. The distance doesn't probably show in that video as well, but we were close. And it would have been bad. So that was one take, one time with lights. And I'm not going to say like I didn't embellish a little bit. At least that's what I tell everybody, because I do look like an idiot in that thing. But it was a lot of fun. And I'm glad she got joy out of it.
I think for me watching it, I thought this is beautiful, right? It's perfect. But as a dad, that's the relationship we have with our kids, where whatever it takes, we're going to do it for them. And yeah, we were tough on them. Yeah, we hit a lot of hard ground balls at them because we knew they could play. We knew what they were capable, but it was in our own way, out of love. But I love the chemistry you guys had for those 15 seconds. I mean, she's laughing, she's enjoying it. That's the story behind the story. Forget the backstory. You just see, a daughter that just, adores her dad and just driving him crazy, enjoying this little experience. That's why it got shared, I think. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
So, awesome.
Well, guys, it's been a pleasure, all right?
Absolutely. Thanks, you guys, again for having me. Do it anytime. So, have a good night. I'll see you out on the dirt.
Well, thank you for joining us on another episode. This was episode 3 of In the Box. I'm Mike Miller. This is Ed Nadine, live from Brothers Pizza in McKinney, Texas.
Yeah, like we said, we will be airing this one. We'll be airing this one before September 1. Hopefully it can provide some insight. And then look for us to have an episode 1 a month. We're going to try. We're going to try to make that thing happen. It's going to be challenging. We're going to do that. And appreciate you guys watching. Subscribe, follow, all those good things.
Smash that like button.
Thank you guys. Appreciate everything.